Have you ever done something out of pure obligation because you feel like you have to? Maybe you even know that you have to. So you're forcing yourself through the activity and you are miserable the entire time, but you just gotta get it done. You gotta get to the finish line. Once you're done, then you sort of feel relief and you're kind of okay now, but the whole way through you were suffering. It doesn't have to be that way, and it's a mistake that I've been guilty of in the past, but also that I've watched so many people make over and over and over again, when in reality, your life and your experience, and especially your subjective experience, is very much so under your influence. Make a decision to implement this rule, the perspective rule. All it is, make sure that before you start an activity, you see it as in some way beneficial, pleasurable, enjoyable, or something that you can learn from. Why do we do this? Because you don't have to. You can always not do something. You have free will. Now, you might feel obligated, but really listen to that sentence. I feel obligated. I feel like I have to. You don't really have to. You could say no. You could avoid it. You could find some other way of going about it, probably too, but you are making yourself feel like you have to do it, or other people around you are causing you to take on those feelings. But what if you said to yourself, hey, what's the upside in this? What can I learn from this? How can I have fun while doing this? It changes the reality. You see, we have so much more control than we realize on a day-to-day basis. Our happiness largely just depends upon how we view the experiences that we have, not what actually happens. And that's exactly why a book like Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl can be so eye-opening, because you watch somebody go through the worst of the worsts, some really horrendous experiences that you wouldn't wish upon anybody, and somehow the psychology stays strong. The way that he perceives that experience is better than how many people perceive a relatively non-harmful experience. We can make things so painful for ourselves. We create suffering. Maybe all we're doing is sitting in a classroom, or maybe we're just on our computer typing some stuff. But somehow it's so painful and so difficult and so annoying. It doesn't have to be that way. Really take a step back. Really zoom out of your own experience right now and ask yourself, do you have a real reason to be upset, to be frustrated, to feel like you're forced or obligated? Do you have a choice? Typically, you do. And the most important choice is how you choose to perceive things. So with the perspective rule, we're making ourselves perceive things in a better light. And it's the only obligation that you will ever have. So instead of feeling obligated to do each thing, the only obligation will be to shift your perspective before you get into it. Now, the key is, it has to be genuine. So just saying to yourself, oh, I'm gonna enjoy this because it's not really that bad. No, you have to try a little bit harder than that. You have to really look for a reason that what you're doing is valuable or good or helpful in some way. And usually, whatever you look for, you'll find. Because of your reticular activation system, RAS, if you focus on something deeply enough, then you will find it. If you've ever thought about buying a car, all of a sudden, you're riding around town or going somewhere and you're seeing that car everywhere. Maybe you've tried this exercise where somebody tells you, look for a color, look for red. Look around your room or where you are right now, look for red, anything that's red. Memorize all the objects that are red so that you can recount them. Look, 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 look. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Close your eyes and try to think of everything that was blue. And it'll be a lot easier to recall what was red. Why does that happen? Well, it's because we put our focus on red. So now when you're asking for blue, you don't find any. When you're telling yourself that this experience is an obligation and a burden, and oh, I hate doing this, and I don't want to do this, then you're setting yourself up to feel pain and to have a miserable time. I remember as a kid, we would plant potatoes with my parents, and I would just find anything wrong with the experience, right? Maybe my dad was talking to some friends and I was so impatient, and I was so angry and frustrated that, it's taken so long, I just want to get home and play and have fun, But I gotta plant these potatoes, what a chore, so boring, so annoying. And yet, as an adult, when I've planted potatoes, It was out of joy and pleasure, and it was fun, and it was a good experience. What was the difference? Well, I wanted to. It was out of my own free will, and I perceived it as something that was fun and grounding and genuinely interesting to me. So it might sound mundane or simple or like an activity that should be a chore, but it doesn't have to be. Nothing has to be a chore. Nothing has to feel burdensome and heavy and annoying. It doesn't have to be that way. You are being that way. And it's hard to look at ourselves in the mirror and really admit that we're doing it to ourselves. But I realized, wait a second, if I just take a step back and really ask myself, how can I enjoy this? How can I make the most of this? What is good about this experience? Then my mind finds proof. It finds something. It will always find something, because your mind is always looking subconsciously. It's always scanning the experience. It's always trying to make meaning out of everything. And if you feed it and set it up to find good meaning, then you have a more positive experience. And with that positive reference point, now it doesn't feel annoying next time. And it's easier to get into a good flow. And that's how you can take pretty much any chore or anything that you find annoying and turn it into a joy and a pleasure and something that you genuinely don't dislike. It's beautiful. Now remember, as you're doing this, never kid yourself, because if you start kidding yourself, then you're screwed. There's no way around it. If you start lying to yourself and trying to force yourself, you have to genuinely step into it. You have to genuinely give yourself a chance. And that might take some time. So in some cases, I remember when I was just learning video editing, that would be kind of annoying and difficult, and I didn't really know what I was doing. So just take 5-10 minutes before starting to edit, as the video was importing, whatever, and really think, okay, how can I enjoy this? I want to learn from this. I want to get better at it. And so I got better. Now I don't really edit anymore. Someone on my team does. But I want you to understand the importance of that perspective shift leading into being able to create and give and do something that I really, really love. If there's a part of what you're doing that you don't enjoy, but ultimately it gets you to a beautiful place, I'm not telling you to get rid of that thing. Even though you should be in joy and in pleasure most of the time as you're pursuing your goals, I think that's really important, because 90% of your experience is getting there, and then there's, you actually got it, wow, the gratification for 5 minutes, and then that's done. But it's really important that you look at that 90% and make it good. And even if there's stuff in there that you don't like, you can find ways to get yourself to enjoy almost anything. And I'm not talking about tricking yourself. I'm talking about genuinely finding reasons for why it's fun, for why it's enjoyable, for why you can learn from it. And there's always some there. You just have to take the time to look. And now, if you want me to personally help you, improve your attitude, have a better perspective, enjoy your life more, then go to erafael.com and book yourself a free one-on-one call with me. I'd love to talk to you, meet you, see what you're all about, see what you want to do in your life and what your goals are and everything. And again, for that, erafael.com, and you can book that free consultation. I hope that you enjoyed this. Drop me a like, make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. I'll catch you on the next one.